name is Howard, and today we're here to unbox the XeoLeo, or in the UK currently branded as Coffee Tales Electric Burr Coffee Grinder, to see if it indeed is almost as good as a fellow owed a Wilfer uniform at $49.95. So, as you saw from that little time lapse, right off the bat you can see it's very simple, right? For $49.95 you get a dosing cup, which is metal construction with a little bit of foam at the bottom. It's pretty nice actually, I would say. Probably worth, what, £10 by itself on Amazon. And you've got this little sieve, which we've seen in previous videos where, you know, you can sieve out all the fines, which it's claiming that it takes about 10% of the total weight. So when we're doing some tests, we'll see if that is true. And then you've got a little top, which allow you to shape. And it also comes with a little hopper. Now there is no opening here, unlike some of the models that we've seen. So like James Hoffman's video, for example, there is no opener. The beans just go directly in. But obviously, you know, if you switch on the motor, and you could do that first and then put the beans in. Now there's a nice little feature of the little lid, which is what prevents, you know, a bit of popcorning, which inevitably happens with, especially not a hopper full of beans. I think the capacity for this is 250 grams, so nobody ever keeps their beans in the hopper, let's be honest. Most people use it as a single doser, so I don't think that's particularly helpful. It comes with a lid, very plasticky, but no more plasticky than the lid from a Super Jolly, which is, you know, 750 quid. So up here at the front, hopefully you can see the dial, you know, the clicks. It's not the most beautiful dial in the world, but I'd say the adjustment is probably okay. Before you initiate the process, switch off and unplug.
Unscrew the front. That comes off very easily indeed.
Okay, so I just want to say right off the bat, there's some stale coffee in here. Now that is interesting. I wonder why a brand new grinder has stale coffee. Maybe that's what the QC, maybe that's what the quality control is doing. So next up, we'll remove, indeed. So it's a very simple system really. The beans are fed through the top here into this chamber and it just grinds. Now, I am very intrigued by these burr grinders. They feel very sharp. Oh, sorry. Is there a way of pre-seasoning the burrs for us? I'm very interested in the results of this. So let's have a go. So I don't really plan on using this grinder for anything but filter coffee because, as I said, I've got a Super Jolly back here which can take care of all of my espresso needs. However, I am intrigued at just how fine can this go. Okay. Now push the starters on. I'm going to flick the machine on just because that's supposedly better for the grinder. And I'm gonna shake it and we will measure how much came out. And there's 12 grams in here, which means there's 3 grams of coffee trapped in this grinder. And that's terrible. That is a terrible amount of retention. So let's see if any more spits out. A little bit. $13 grams. So apparently there's 2 grams of coffee in the finest setting trapped between here and there. Now that's pretty bad, right? So right off the bat, if you're grinding with this grinder, there's going to be quite a lot of static. You know, I actually don't think the distribution is very bad. So what you saw just then was we ground 15 grams of coffee, and we've gone for about, somewhere on the finer side of things for a V60. Now I'm going to brew it. Now while it's brewing, I'm going to make a cup which I've dialed in earlier of V60 from the Super Jolly, which has 64mm flat burrs and is obviously a much more expensive piece of kit. And compare if is there any difference in the cup? And obviously the Super Jolly comes with a doser, and I've got a workflow down which is kind of messy, but I can kind of get to that sort of 0.3 to 0.4 grams of retention. Now, how much is being exchanged, I couldn't tell you, right? But what I can say is that the Super Jolly does very well in terms of brewing a V60. I really like what comes out of it. It's very clean, which is obviously, a cone-shaped brewer brews quite fast, the paper, etc. It always comes with a clean cup. But I think the Super Jolly also brings out a lot of sweetness, which it'd just be really interesting to compare. So the coffee I'm using today, I forgot to mention, is a Crafty Smuggler El Salvador, and the tasting notes of chocolate, grapes, maple syrup. It's a medium roast, and I've had it for about a week and a half, I want to say. So that's the coffee. It's roasted on the 22nd of March. Today is the 6th of April. So yeah, not for very long, a week and a half. So this coffee is very much in its prime. Now right off the bat, before I brew my V60 with the Super Jolly, to say is that I just got 15 and 15 in, 15 out. So, with a little brush, a Super Jolly for doser is, quite easily able to handle any sort of single dosing with a bit of exchange. So here we go. Now, whilst it's blooming, I know that this test isn't a blind A/B test, which one do I prefer, because I'm pretty sure I will prefer the one from Super Jolly, just because it's a far better grinder when it comes to being flat burred. It's also, seasoned the burrs are, so it's less likely that it'll produce a better cup than it already does, and it's in the prime, and I've also had it for about a good 4 or 5 months now, so I'm quite used to the Super Jolly, and I know what I'm looking for. I'm dialing in the Super Jolly. Whilst with this, I suspect that cup might have been a little bit too fine. So this is just an overview. We're brewed 2 cups of V60. This one is just from the Super Jolly, which is dialed in for the V60 grind set or whatever, and this one is from the Coffee Tales, or XeoLeo, or you could be known as the Precision GS1 if it's from the Australia stores, called Alternative Brewing, I think. But they have a slightly different manufacturing process and quality control, I believe, from what I gather on the internet anyway, so I don't want to comment on that, but I'm pretty sure this is the same as the XeoLeo, okay? Okay, so here are my thoughts about the cups right off the bat. I didn't dial this in very hard. It was like the the third run I did. So, you know, in many ways, I think it's unfair to compare something straight away, and I'm not going to, but this is just something that, you know, I was very curious about, and there's no reviews online, so I thought I'd make one. This cup of V60 has a sort of a slight hollowness. I can't describe it as anything else because it's quite sweet. Okay, the water I use is from a Brita filter. There's nothing special. I haven't used a third wave tablet or anything like that. It's a little bit hollow, but it's got a lot of sweetness. The clarity is very good. I wouldn't say that the Super Jolly in terms of clarity is better, but honestly, it's kind of astounding. Now this cup is a little bit cooler as well, obviously. This is a little bit warmer, but there's a lot of complexity to the flavour that I don't think I expected, but only time can tell. But to be honest, in terms of messiness, you know, I can see a little bit of, you know, fines or whatever, but it really isn't that bad. And for £50 to get some, I would say this is at least 85% as good as this. Now the hollowness is there, okay? And you don't get a lot of acidity. And you get the fruitiness from the Super Jolly, which you don't quite get from this cup. But this isn't as dialed in as the Super Jolly is. The Super Jolly I've dialed in earlier with quite a few cups. So this is at its prime. And don't forget it's a stepless grinder, so you know that really can go the distance when it comes to precision, okay? But you know, for £49 versus that brand new at £750, I think this is a bargain. And it's very easy to clean. 2 screws, and you, as you saw, pop it out, give it a little brush. It's a very simple thing, and you know, in terms of noise, it's pretty quiet and doesn't shake a lot. It's very sturdy. It's built with metal. Not the hardest metal of all, but it's built with metal. This hopper here, it's neither here or there, but the Super Jolly hopper, I wouldn't say it's much better. And the Super Jolly is definitely a bit louder. I'm kind of impressed. Now, what are your thoughts? Have you ever had a XeoLeo before? Are you interested in buying one? At $49.95, if it brews 80 to 85% as good as a cup of coffee as a Super Jolly does, for filter coffee, not for espresso, it doesn't grind well for espresso, for the workflow, etc. I think it would be problematic to use this for espresso. It's not designed for that, okay? But for brew grinding, for $49.95, will this be as good as a Wilfer Zwart, which is a £95 or 130 pence? I think it might just be. So this is kind of a budget hero. Is this a budget hero? And will you pick one up? Please do let me know in the comment section below. I'm very much intrigued. I will be using this grinder for the next however long until it breaks. And I will feed you back with regular updates, probably one in a month and probably one in 3 months, to just show you what my workflow has been and does it make good coffee. Thanks for watching. My name is Howard. This is the YouTube channel Macchiato. Click like and subscribe if you want to, for plenty more videos to come.